Hi everyone, today I wanted to give you an overview of working in ACES color space using DaVinci Resolve. And specifically I wanted to focus on showing you how you can use the new cinemaDNG IDT in Resolve 9.1. Now this tutorial is designed to be an introduction into the ACES color space. So if you've never worked in ACES color space, this might be a great place for you to start, but this is by no means a comprehensive overview of everything that is offered by this color space. So to start, let's talk a little bit about what the ACES color space is all about. And ACES stands for the Academy Color Encoding Specification. And getting all the technical stuff out of the way, basically what it's designed to do is maintain color fidelity during grading and also give people a way to standardize color across different cameras. If you look at the chart I have in front of me, this is sort of the pipeline that your footage is going to go through in this workflow. So up here, we start with an image acquisition source, and this is a digital camera in our case. And since we're talking about cinemaDNG, we're probably talking about either capturing with the Blackmagic cinema camera or the Ikonoskop ACAM D2. So once you have your source footage captured, you need to convert it into the ACES color encoding specification. And that's what this IDT, input device transform, is doing. So basically each camera, each separate device has a specific IDT that you can apply to it that will properly convert it into ACES. So in the instance that we're talking about here, cinemaDNG would be applied only to cinemaDNG footage if that's in fact what you're trying to convert into the ACES color space. Once you've converted the footage into the ACES color space, this is where you're going to do your color grading and also any of your special effects work. The RRT, which is the reference rendering transform, you don't have to worry about too much. This is basically just a way to convert the image into the most pleasing look for the eye that's sort of running in the background. This is built into the ACS workflow. And sort of the key components of this color space are the ACS encoding specification and the reference rendering transform. These are sort of working together to create the color space that you are color correcting in and then visualizing. Once you've done your color correction, you need to apply an ODT, or output device transform. And similar to the input device transform, which converted your footage from a camera into the ACES color space, the output device transform is taking the converted ACES footage and optimizing it for an output device, in this instance, an HD monitor. So let's take a look at these 4 steps a little bit more specifically and define the terms. The IDT, which is the input device transform, it basically converts the originally captured scene into real-world light values for a particular camera that is then used to create the ACES representation. Now, the IDT is device specific, so you want to make sure when you're setting up your workflow that you're matching your IDT to the device that you shot your footage with. The second thing, ACES, Academy Color Encoding Specification, this is really just the color space that your original footage has been converted into, and it's where your grading and compositing is going to be done. You can sort of think of this as the standardized color space. So any footage coming from any camera, once it's been converted with an IDT, will match in the ACS color space. That means that you can use different looks across footage, even if they're shot with different cameras, and you can get the same result. The RRT, which is the reference rendering transform, creates an image from ACES data, and it's developed to create the most pleasing image to human perception. So within DaVinci Resolve, the RRT isn't something that you have to select or worry about. It's just sort of running in tandem with the other processes, but it's good to know that it exists and it's running in the background and giving your footage a specific look. And finally, the ODT, which is the output device transform. This is what allows the image to be viewed on any device with optimized color space. And basically, when you're selecting the ODT, you want to make sure that it matches whatever primary device your film is going to be viewed on. And one of the beauties of this workflow is that you can just change the output device transform and it will sort of optimize your footage for whatever device that is. That means you don't have to do a separate color grade for different devices. So if you're going to an HD monitor, you can use Rec. 709, but if you're going to a computer monitor, you can use sRGB. Many more professional options, of course, but try not to get too technical here. So just one more time, the steps are, we have an image from our image acquisition source. We need to apply the proper input device transform to that footage to convert it into the ACES color space, where we can do our color grading. And then we need to make sure that we select the correct ODT, or output device transform, so that that footage is then properly formatted for whatever output device we might be viewing it on. In this case, our output device is an HD monitor. So now that we've kind of gotten an overview of working in the ACES color space and with the ACES color science, let's take a look at how we can do this in Resolve 9.1 with cinemaDNG. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new project, and I'm going to call the project ACES color. I'm going to create that. And then in this, I'm going to configure this project file. And in the master project settings, I'm going to change the color science from DaVinci YRGB to DaVinci ACES. And when I do that, it's going to give me a couple more options in the lookup tables. It's going to enable the input device transform option and the output device transform option. Now, if you come in here and these are grayed out, that's because if you have this at YRGB and you go into lookup tables, you'll see I can't select that because that's actually using these lookup tables, and the ACES workflow does not use lookup tables. So back here, DaVinci ACES, back to the lookup tables, and now you see these are enabled again. So an input device transform, that's where I want to put my capture device, so whatever I use to capture this footage. And as I mentioned, these are camera specific. So I'm going to scroll down here until I get to cinemaDNG, and I'm going to select that for the input device, since that's what my footage is coming in as. And then for output device transform, this is going to be where I'm going to view my final video or final film. So Rec. 709, if you're going to HD video, there's some more professional options here. And then there's also sRGB, which you could use if you were just going to a computer monitor. Just remember to pick whichever one matches where you're going to be viewing your final footage. For this, I'm going to select Rec. 709 and just hit apply. Now I can close this and open up my ACES color project. And now I'm just going to navigate to some footage and grab a good clip here and pull that down into my media pool. And now I'm going to go over to the color panel and we can take a look at this. Now, this is a cinemaDNG shot with the Ikonoskop ACAM D2, so if you're using a Blackmagic cinema camera or another camera, your frame might look different coming in. In my case, because it is from the Ikonoskop, I'm going to go into image scaling, and I'm going to do center crop with no resizing and apply that so that my image is not being scaled down. And now we are in ACES color space. So if I go into my project settings, you'll notice under the master project settings, I am in DaVinci ACES. And if I look at the lookup tables, I have cinemaDNG and Rec. 709. Now, this is set up correctly, but let's just say I hadn't set this correctly, just to show you what, some of the different things are. Since this is changing the output, if I were to select it to another option, you'll see it will shift what my output looks like, which is why it's important to make sure you're picking the correct output device transform here. Same with the input device transform. Obviously, I am using cinemaDNG, but if you had it selected incorrectly, let's say to Rec. 709, and you applied that, you'll notice that really throws the color off and this doesn't look good at all. So you do need to make sure that you're selecting the correct input device transform that matches your camera. So once you've set your IDT and your ODT correctly, you're ready to do your color grading and enjoy the benefits of the ACES color science. Hopefully this has been helpful to you. As I mentioned, this is just an overview, so there's a lot more to this workflow than what I've been able to cover here, but hopefully this gets you started and is a good introduction to working with the ACES color science in DaVinci Resolve 9.1 using cinemaDNG.